Hi, this is Reverend Kenn Blanchard, and one of the cool things that happened to me just recently, I got a chance to talk to the author of a new book about Doug Danger, and it's called Dare to Dream. It's a pretty cool book, and the guys that you're going to watch are pretty cool as well. This is a stunt man like nobody else, and check out this show. And let me know what you think afterwards in the comments. Talk to you later. Peace.
He's survived as long as he has. I mean, I've known Doug since we were 6 years old, and I can tell you that I didn't think either one of us would be around at this ripe old age. But but when it but it's amazing all the things he's accomplished, and you'll see in the book, Ken, some of the stuff he's done, things that nobody else has been able to do. Nobody else has been able to repeat, and yet he's done it over 40 years. Just recently in Sturgis, he jumped Evil Knievel's Will Sturgis. Austin, Texas, is he jumped Evil Knievel's actual 1972 Harley Davidson in 2015 and in 2017. That is amazing. A 43-year-old motorcycle farther than anyone else has ever jumped a Harley Davidson. That's the kind of things he's done. And then he's gone ahead and beat stage 4 cancer and beat a serious injury where he was not going to make it. I was told by his mother, my aunt, that don't bother going to see him. He's not going to make it. Just remember how he is, because
Wow.
that's what's going on. But he's a guy that when you really read the story, and the one complaint I got about the story was it's not Steve. It's so amazing. It's almost not believable, but it is. It's his story.
I've been going through my life my whole time, and everybody keeps telling me you have to write a book. You have to write a book. I've never seen a life lived like yours. People have survived what you survived and accomplishments that you've done. And I kept trying. I had authors. Everybody contacted me, and then they'd sit down and we do 5 or 6 meetings, and then I'd never hear from them. They end up taking my pictures and everything. And finally, Steve came to me and says, let me write the story. He'd already written a book, and I'm like, well, I want it written a certain way. I need it descriptive. I need somebody that understands motorcycling, somebody who maybe has had challenges like jumping before, and Steve has jumped before.
Oh, wow.
And and he's been up on the highway. We shouldn't say this because you might get a ticket, but he's been over 100 miles an hour on a dirt bike. He knows what it's like to be sitting on that bike going at a ramp at 100 miles an hour. It's like him and I have both done it where we've been out on the highway, and just all of a sudden we'll get up to 100 miles an hour and just look at what it'd be like with a ramp coming at you. And then you have to stand up and just about get ripped off the bike and then try and control it through the air. And there couldn't have been anybody better in the world to write this than Steve. I mean, wait till you read it. You're not going to believe it. I've got a guy that's an avid book reader. He's just, every week he's reading a new book and reading a new book. And he just sent me a message. He goes, Doug, I just read your book. He says, this is going to be one of the top 5 books in my lifetime I've ever read. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me. I couldn't believe it. This guy used to announce for the Joey Chitwood Thrill Show. And he just to get a compliment from him on it brought tears to my eyes. You know, Steve did an amazing job. He accomplished something for me that nobody's ever been able to do. And I'm so impressed with it. I couldn't be prouder than anything with this book. I'm ready to move on to the next stage of my life. I've got a couple jumps left I want to do, but I see now that this book, I need to get out there and get this thing promoted, because it's going to be inspirational to people. They're going to see sometimes when things are down, you just have to change your attitude a little bit. And I've done that through my life. And there's been times like when I had cancer and they told me I had 3 to 6 months left to live. And I just said, piss on it. No, I don't. I'm not going to die. I'm Doug Danger. I was like, you don't understand who I am and what I do. I beat everything. And then I beat it. And I never realized how inspiring that is to people And ever since the book, it just came out, and I've got people writing stuff to me like, you've changed my life. I cannot wait to read this book. You know, when I had cancer, I saw you jumping and I saw you doing everything and jumping at the age of your jumping. I had another guy that went into it. He did a UCF fight, I think it is. You know, he Ultimate Fighting Challenge. He went out and he got in. And he was like 48 years old. He says, I wasn't going to do it till I saw you jump at 58 years old. And so I just, my life's been very inspiring to a lot of people, and I want to share it with people. I like to be uplifting. I like to, however we can make this world a better place, man.
Talk, man. That's some good stuff
Steve
right there.
is really helping me with this. He really made you feel like you're riding with me on the motorcycle in this book.
And then just in case you wonder what we're talking about, I am actually talking to Doug Danger about a new book by Stephen R. Hall and Douglas Senecal, Dare to Dream, From Tragedy to Triumph, A Daredevil's Ride. It's a memoir as told to Steve. And I'm already feeling blessed because the acknowledgement had some good stuff in it. And I only got that far. And I was like, oh, man, this is going to be my weekend read right here. But I'm talking to Doug Danger and Stephen R. Hall. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. About your life, what's been a cakewalk? What's been easy for you?
I'm a motorcycle jumper, nothing, man.
Everything has been hard.
You know what's been, it's been the best part. I'm not gonna say it's easy, is after you've accomplished a jump and you have all these little kids running up with their eyes, big as pancakes, and they're just like looking at you. And, I do drug speech at my shows because I had lost several friends to drugs. And I do a drug speech and I talk about that if you want to be anything in life, you have to give 110%. You can be anything you want to be, but if you get involved with drugs, you can throw it all out the window. And I have parents that come up to me and hug me afterwards, and I get little kids come up and they can't wait to get my autograph. And the thought that because of where God has put me on this earth and put me on a stage, that somebody will listen to me when I try to say, stay away from drugs. If I save one kid's life, my whole career has been a blessing. That's kind of what my life has been all about. Evel Knievel did it for me. He said to stay away from drugs. And all my friends started doing drugs in high school. And I lost my best friend. And I tell that story a lot, at shows. And when I went to his wake after he overdosed, the words that Evel Knievel said, stay away from drugs because only losers do drugs, really sank in, and it made so much sense. I'm looking at my best friend in a coffin, and he was only 18 years old, and there was no need for it. Drugs are not cool, Evel Knievel didn't need him to be cool. I don't need him to be cool, and I try to explain that to children. Stay away from them. Just don't ever get involved with them. They're not worth it.
The tale of two daredevils. How did you get connected with Evel Knievel?
Well, like we were talking earlier, I think Evel Knievel was, I think he was everybody's hero, but I'm not sure he was everybody's hero, but he was a household name.
Yeah.
And when he was in his prime, I thought he was the greatest thing in the world, and I wanted to be just like him. And I started doing jumps. I started jumping on bicycles, and we started, I get out to a certain distance with bicycles. I ended up getting a motorcycle, and then my carpentry class in my high school built me a set of ramps. My very first set of ramps they built me, and I went out and I set them up out in the field and started jumping. I got out to 10 cars and I ended up crashing on it, but I made the headlines in all the local newspapers, the local news stations, everything came out to cover it. And I was hooked after that, man. Everywhere I went, everybody was coming up. Oh, I saw your jump. That was unbelievable. Thank God you're okay. And, I was like, I'm like Evel Knievel now, you know, I'm famous. And of course I was famous in my own town, but nowhere else. But we just, I continued jumping, and I brought it to a level that had never been reached before. You know, I set the Guinness Book of World Records. I jumped 42 cars. Nobody's ever jumped that many cars ever. I did it in 1991, and it still has not been beaten. The distance has been beaten for Guinness. I was in Guinness Book for 9 years, but that's a lot of cars, man.
I know, right? Guinness Book is no joke. So
we had a good year a couple of years ago. I ran into my buddy Latham McKay. He owns the Evel Knievel Museum in Topeka, Kansas, and I told him he had bought one of Evel Knievel's jump bikes, and I told him, I says, boy, if you ever want anybody to jump this thing, you let me know, because let it be either me or Robbie Knievel. And he goes, Robbie's not going to jump it. He says, I know how far you've jumped. If anybody's going to jump it, it's going to be you, but nobody's ever going to jump it. I paid $350,000 for this motorcycle. And then he called me a couple months later. He goes, you serious about jumping this thing? Because I got somebody willing to pay a lot of money for this. He says, if you'll insure the bike for $350,000, we'll let you jump it. So I ended up jumping Evel Knievel's bike over 22 cars. And it was a jump that he had attempted to make, and he had failed on it. And, you know, everybody goes, you beat Evel Knievel. You jumped his bike farther than he did. I didn't beat Evel Knievel. Evel Knievel's my hero. I went out and I finished the jump for him. So now him and I hold the world record, the Harley world record for motorcycle jumping, and it's in both of our names.
Oh, that's cool right there. When you found out that you were sick, what did that do to you?
Well, I got sick over in Australia. I was touring in Australia, and I spent 8 days in the hospital over there, and they cut it out of me. I had a tumor in my neck, and they cut it out of me, and then they says, well, we got good news, we got bad news. I says, what's the good news? They says, it's not cancer. I says, okay, well, what's the bad news? Then I got really scared, because if it's not cancer and you got more bad news, and that's
right.
And they said, we don't know what it is. So when I got home, I went to my doctor, and he says, if that lump comes back in your neck, get right in here immediately, because it sounds like it was cancer. I'm like, okay. And a month later, it came back. So I went in to have it diagnosed, and he did an x-ray, saw or CAT scan, and he saw the tumor. He was supposed to do like a 35-minute surgery to cut it out. He ended up doing a 3.5-hour surgery. And he came out and he told my wife he thought it was cancer, but he said to me, he says, it might be cancer. I'm not positive, but we're going to set you up with all the chemo. You know, we're going to set you up with an oncologist and everything. And I'm like, all right. So after he got it cut out, he says he got it all. He just needed a couple of shots of radiation if it was cancer. So I went in to go talk to the oncologist, and the oncologist told me to sit down, and I made a big joke out of it. I says, don't tell me to sit down, especially you. I says, usually when you say sit down, that's bad news. He goes, it's not good. And I, big lump in my throat, and I'm like, what's up? And he went through all the stages of cancer. And when he got to stage 4 cancer, he says, stage 4 is terminal. He says, we don't give you your percentage or chance of making it. We tell you how much time you have left. I says, well, what am I? Am I 2 or 3? And he goes, no, you're stage 4, and you got about 3 to 6 months. And my wife was sitting with me at the time, and just a lump came up my throat, and they started telling me I had to do a will, and I had to do one of those peroxies for your body parts. And I just, wait, hold on. Are you telling me I got no chance? You're telling me this is January, and you're telling me in June, I'm going to be pushing up daisies out of the ground. I'm going to be in the ground dead. He goes, yeah, I'm sorry. He says, the type of cancer you have, as bad as you have it, only 5% of the people make it through what you've got. And I started cracking up. I says, 5%? So you're telling me I do have a chance? He goes, well, not much of a chance. I didn't want to tell you that because then it might give you some hope. I says, you don't know who I am, man. I says, 5%. I says, that means 5 out of 100 are going to beat this. And I'm one of those guys. I says, how many people that you see, how many of your patients come in and tell you that they've jumped a motorcycle over 42 cars? I'll bet you've never had any of those. How many set a world record? That's me. I'm one of the guys that's going to beat this. So you get ready to do what you got to do and tell me what I got to do, because we're going to beat this. I'm not losing. And he started laughing. He goes, you got the right attitude. He says, a guy with your attitude could be the guy that beats it. I says, I'm not guessing. I'm gonna. And he called me a couple days later, just before I started chemo. And he goes, I just had a new experimental chemo that they're testing. He says, it's one of the most powerful chemos in the world. He says, it's either going to kill you or it's going to cure you. And I'm calling you to see if you'll take a chance with it. I says, what am I doing? Start it up, man. I'm going for it. I says, what's my other choice? Wait and die? Let's do it. So we ended up doing an experimental chemo, and it ended up working out great. But, you know, when you get back to the point about what did I think the day that it happened, the day when he told me all of this about having 3 to 6 months left to live, my wife and we got in the car, and, you know, I started crying because I got 2 kids. And my son at the time was having some troubles in high school and really needed me. And my wife and I took a ride, and we went to a church over in Munson, Massachusetts. And it was a church. They had a certain statue there that is basically for people that have cancer. It's the patron saint of cancer. And I went there, and I got down on my knees, and I cried for about 2 hours. And I prayed, and I said, God, I just need enough time to get my son through high school and college, get him focused and get him on his way. And then if you need to take me, I'm all yours. But, you know, please get me through this part of it. And, you know, I've been cancer-free for a while now, so my son's kind of on his way and got a direction in life, so I'm always kind of looking around, waiting for a lightning bolt or something, you know. But, yeah, it was a hell of a ride. And, you know, I did that chemo. And the hard part was, you know, my wife and she was my girlfriend at the time. And she came up to visit me from Long Island. I was in Massachusetts. And she came up to visit me on Thursday when I got my chemo treatment. And then I had a bag that I used to wear on my side. I used to wear it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And Monday, a nurse would come and take it out. By Sunday, I couldn't hardly move. I had to crawl to the bathroom. And my wife usually had to leave on Sunday night because she had to go back to work on Long Island. She's a school teacher. And I'm telling you right now, those Mondays, I could barely get out of bed. And I can remember a few times crawling to the bathroom, and I was in so much pain. I was in tears. But, you know, God found a way to get me through this, and I'm here for a reason. And, you know, I honestly believe, you know, I think this book is a big part of it. And touring and talking to people. You know, some people go through a tough time in life sometimes, and they want to give up. And, you know, you have some people that you know, suicide is the answer to them at the time. And I'm just telling you, there's never a day when you got to say I'm done, because if you give up, you'll never see another sunny day. Somehow, some way, if you fight through it, you're going to get a good day. And one day you're going to be sitting on the beach, sunshine, beer in your hand, and going, son of a bitch. So glad I listened to that guy. I'm so glad I'm still here. You got to carry on. You got to keep going.
That's how you fight your demons, pushing through.
Yep.
Live for another jump.
What's that?
Live for another jump.
Yeah.
Another challenge.
That's why I'm 58 years old. I'm still not jumping. We're not done jumping.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome,
So
man.
I can say, Ken, is when we put the book together, and I think the important thing was, at 58 years old, he's learned, he's been through so much, he's learned so much. So I really wanted to, tell his story, really describe about motorcycling and jumping and the whole, all his experiences, but also the lessons learned in there. What did he learn? When you really put it together, there's lessons on leadership, on following your dream. The whole Dare to Dream is the reason we put that together. But it's lesson after lesson after lesson that when people read this, it's gonna inspire them. It's gonna be motivational. You go back to Doug. Neither one of us came from money. We talk about his tough upbringing and everything, and how he had to struggle to work through that. And that's been Doug Danger all along. Working class man out there making something for himself, not because it was handed to him, but because he had to work for it, and the lessons learned along the way. So it's a great book, and
Yes,
I
it is.
can't wait to hear your what you think about it.
I'm already like peeking while he was talking, and I was catching up some of the stories. Like, yeah, this is going to be a great thing. I really appreciate you guys including me on this because I get a chance to push something that I believe in. The world, and especially kids right now, still need heroes. We had superheroes as kids. We had both the fictional and the real guys that we used to look up to, and not so much today. Now there's a lot of people who want to be, but they don't not doing anything, and their messages are not positive, and everything in here is positive.
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, all through the years, I've been trying to get some major sponsor to get behind me so I can do positive messages and commercials,
Mm-hmm.
things to get the kids rolling in the right direction in life. So many kids, they're misled with a wrong wrong type of idol. It's wrong type
Mm-hmm.
of person to follow. And there's so many great things in this country. It's it is so unbelievable. The
Still,
opportunity is there.
yes.
And the idea that you have to have is you just have to have the idea that, and this was where my biggest number one goal situation was Dennis McCurdy. He was a mentor for me for speaking. And he kept telling me every time I was out there, Evel Knievel did it, but you're the best jumper in the world. Go get it. He puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like you do. Go out there and do it. Whatever he did, you can do. And the jumps, I've jumped 42 cars. I jumped 22 cars on Evil's bike. I've jumped a jumbo jet. I've jumped so many different things. I jumped over a roller skating rink, landed in the lake, went 85 feet high in the air. It was incredible, People just used to say to me, "What were you thinking when you're up there?" It's like, I didn't think, obviously.
And the book has pictures, y'all.
Yeah. I got a bunch of great pictures in it.
Yeah, you don't have to like imagine this stuff. You can actually see it too. There's proof in here.
Yeah, we're hoping that I know a few producers, and we're going to get them copies of the book. Yeah, we've already had one call us about it. We're going to try and make a movie from it.
Nice.
It's that's the goal. The bottom line is, everything that seems to be drawing attention on TV nowadays is like Jerry Springer, things like that. And I want this to be so far from that, it's unbelievable. I want this to be somebody saying this was whacked out, crazy, incredible. Like it was as wild as the stuff on Jerry Springer, but all positive. And I'd love to be like that guy. And I'd like to do that kind of stuff. This is unbelievable, and that way kids can have a hero that they can look up to and try to be like. It's to watch some of that stuff on some of these TV shows and then laugh about it, and then they go and they follow and do the same things, and that's how you end up with problems.
Yeah. You reminded me of, I think we're like exactly the same age, of my banana seat 3-speed that I was trying to put a ramp, a board, and a tire, but I crashed, and that was it for me. I quit after that. But I was still feeling you, Doc. I was there. The same age, man. Trying to do the same thing.
You should have seen one time we put this old rotted board on a picnic table in my yard, and my mother had told me, you don't do that jumping. You're going to get hurt. We don't have insurance. Cut it out. Don't do it. And every time she'd leave, I'd go set the ramps up, and then I'd be jumping my bicycle. This one day I come hauling butt down the driveway. I was going to jump the whole picnic table. I came off and the takeoff ramp broke because it was a rotted board. I went over the handlebars, cartwheeling through the air with my arms out like this, landed on the ground, slammed down, knocked the wind out of me, go rolling up. Just as I did, my mother was driving in the driveway. She gets out of the car. I'm sitting on the ground. I can't even breathe. I'm like, she comes over, grabs me by the back of the hair, picks me up, goes over, throws me in the truck. I'm like, now I'm really scared. I think she's bringing me to the police, And she brings me down to the lumber store. She says, if you're going to do this right, if you're going to do this stuff, you're going to do it right. We went into the lumber shop, bought all brand new plywood, made everything great. And she's been my biggest fan ever since. She's, anytime I've been down in the dumps about anything, she'd always call me, and she'd tell me, you're best in the world. Don't get down. You're the best in the world. And, she kept me going when, things were really bad. I had a horrible wreck in 1992. I was in a coma for a month and had 17 broken bones. And when I woke up, I had to learn everything all over again because I had no memory of anything.
Wow.
They call it going through the age mentalities because you grow up all over again. You learn rights and wrongs and morals and, and one day I'd had enough because everybody, when you got the mind of a 7-year-old in a body of a 30-year-old, you get picked on a lot, people talk about, being bullied. I was picked on so bad, it was unbelievable. And I used to go home from work crying a lot. And one day I called my mother. I says, Ma, I think I'm done. I can't do this no more. She goes, what do you mean? I says, I'm leaving. She goes, where are you going? I says, well, I hope it's heaven. She goes, knock it off. She goes, you wanted to be Doug Danger again, didn't you? I says, yeah, I did. She says, go set your ramps up and see if you can do it. And I'm like, but my wife said she's going to leave me if I set my ramps up again. You know what my mother said? She goes, tell her not to let the door hit her in the butt on the way out.
That's moms, man. Moms and their sons.
And my wife is not cared for my mother since. Yeah, it's my ex-wife. My new wife, she's been behind me 100%.
Oh yeah. Plus you married up. You got a teacher this time.
Yeah. Well, my first wife was an occupational therapist. She was a good woman, but people don't realize when you're in the entertainment business how hard it is to be married to somebody like that. You go out and you do shows. There's girls all over the place. You're partying, you're not partying, but you go out and everybody wants to buy you a beer. And everywhere you go, somebody wants to buy you a meal. And, hey, come on over to my house. Let's go do this. And after a certain amount of time, it gets old on the family. And she really wanted to live a kind of normal life, and I didn't blame her. My situation was I chose to go play and live like a rock star, and that's what I've done, and it's not the life for everybody.
All right, so we just hit a good solid point. I want to thank you guys for coming on before my computer shuts this thing down. I'm talking to the real Doug Danger, and we're talking about a book that talks about his life, his accomplishments, his inspiration. This is going to be a book for you. Dare to Dream, From Tragedy to Triumph. And I'm going to actually have to get you back on because this stuff is just too good.
Can Steve talk for a minute just to say how to get the book?
Absolutely. I want him to.
Absolutely. Hey, you can, DougDanger.net certainly is a place to get it, or at 15rules.com. You can also get it on Amazon. The paperback ebooks are available, and on all major booksellers throughout the world have books available, especially ebooks. available.
Yeah, Doug Danger, Dare to Dream.
Doug Danger, Dare to Dream, 15rules.com and dougdanger.net.
Perfect. Hit my stop button.